The Brooklyn Nets have won two straight games, and now the pivotal return of Cam Thomas back from IR. Is it a blessing and a Christmas present to Nets fans, or should it be something that they cannot get off their minds heading into the new year? Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Brooklyn Boys Show. I am your host, Josh Woolever. So great to be with you all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however and wherever you may celebrate that. So great to be with you. Glad that you are spending your Friday evening with us right here on the show. As always, get likes and subscriptions in for us to get moving, continue to grow this channel. Helps us as always, as there we go, with the headlines. Helps us grow the channel as always. Get questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Continue to support the show that way. Best way to do so. Already got some chats in here for Jonathan, which we will get to in just a couple of minutes. But this is it, baby. November 5th was the last time that Cam Thomas hit the floor for the Brooklyn Nets. At that point, the team was 0-7 the last time he suited up. He went down, hurt halfway into that game, and has not returned since. Has been on IR for about the last 2 months. And before that, the Nets had won a game. After Cam Thomas left, the Nets went on to beat the one-win Pacers, grabbed their first win of the year. And since then, this is how it has all played out. It has been a very, very interesting season since Cam Thomas went out. You see that they lost their first 7 in Indiana the night he goes out. Brooklyn then responds and comes back to win. They lose 4 straight after that without him on the court. But since December 1st, this team has won 6 of 9 games. And it has just all around been the sort of season that is head scratching to fans and to analysts and to the front office and to the coaching staff. Because let's be real, Cam Thomas heading into this offseason, we had no clue what his role would be. So to sit here and say that there are play-in talks at this point in the season, as we are 2 games away from flipping the calendar into 2026, to say that there's talks of this team contending for the play-in is insane. But even more insane is to say that this guy is going to come back and help them get to that point. This team, man, the Brooklyn Nets look so ridiculously different the last time Cam Thomas was on the floor. Like, let me set the stage. Not only had they not won a game yet, Michael Porter Jr., this team's all-star, this team's heartbeat of these winning streaks, barely even had a role carved out on this team. Terrence Mann was about just as pivotal of an offseason addition in many Nets fans' eyes the last time that Cam Thomas played. Michael Porter Jr. was nowhere close to the explosiveness he is at now, is nowhere close, or was nowhere close, rather, to being anywhere near the player that the Nets have him at right now, averaging over 27 a night. Like, look in that far right column, you'll look at some of those high scores. Claxton, Thomas, Mann, Porter, Thomas. Cam Thomas was this team's offense before he got injured. Cam Thomas was putting up 33, 41, 29, and 25 before he got hurt. And since then, there have been few and far between instances of games after Cam Thomas got hurt that Michael Porter Jr. did not take over for Brooklyn in. It has been MPJ's team since the second that Cam Thomas went back to the locker room injured that night in Indianapolis 2 months ago. And let's be real. I mean, the graph speaks for itself right here. Where do you see all the green? Right after that drop off when this team seriously found an identity without Cam Thomas on the floor. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the sole reason why the Nets found success because, once you get Cam Thomas off the floor, everything changes. This team goes from bottom of the barrel tank job, worst team in the league, to a play-in contender. This is what fueled the turnaround. That's not what I'm saying. The development of the rookies has been a part of it. Yegor's taking the next step. Danny Wolf has come out of nowhere. You've seen guys grow into their role. Jordy understand minutes and where to schedule guys in better. Guys have stepped up, others have stepped back. Namely, Martin, Mann, Wilson. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Cam Thomas getting injured and coming out of the lineup on injured reserve for the past 2 months has been the reason that you see this shift in the trend in the winning graphics. Strength of opponent has also certainly played into it. Like, look at the beginning of December when the Nets got a large portion of their wins. That's certainly part of it. But the trend, you have to factor in Cam Thomas into the trend. These are not two mutually exclusive deals. Cam Thomas is absolutely a part of why that graph changes like that. When you go from scoring 30 a night, and those are also the days where coincidentally you did not see any of the rookies, to now you've won 6 of your last 9 games. There is a shift in culture when it becomes a team sport rather than an individual accumulating all of your offense and not passing the ball. And yes, Cam Thomas was guilty of that. CT truthers, he was. But look, I'm not so much concerned about Cam Thomas coming back for this team and leading them to the glory days. I'm not. However, if Cam Thomas comes back on this team and takes away minutes from the rookies, or tries to steal back the role that Michael Porter Jr. has made for himself in Thomas's absence, there will be a problem, and you will be hearing about it from me. Because there's no excuse. This coaching staff doesn't have to play him. This organization does not owe Cam Thomas anything. Let's make that clear. The offseason shenanigans were handled horribly. We can all agree. But that doesn't mean the Nets have to owe it back to him, have to make it up, give him minutes so he can get out, so he can get into a better position elsewhere. Not how it works. So if he dares to try and come back on this court and for whatever reason is bad in the locker room, is not gelling with the rookies, is trying to take back a role for Michael Porter Jr., sit him. I don't care. Sit him. Cut him. See if I care. I do not. Cam Thomas means nothing to the future of this franchise, and that's what I'm worried about right now. That's what this season should be about, the future of this franchise. So don't spoil that because you want to let this guy back in here and maximize the next 4 months you have left on his contract. Not only at that point is it about ruining your future, it presents a terrible, terrible message to the rest of the locker room, especially the young guys. You're not going to really get far with it. I don't expect this team to get suddenly better with Cam Thomas in the lineup. But taking away rookies, or rather minutes from the rookies, would be absolutely detrimental because Cam Thomas is going to have to learn to be content with a bench role on this team. He is not owed a starting job when he gets back on the floor. Nothing should be handed to him. Let's make that clear. Nothing should be handed to him. Last time he played, the Nets, those Nets, and the Nets today are nothing alike. It's a completely different team. So if he's not content with a bench role, you can go ahead and sayonara. I do not care. And I don't think this organization should either. Jordi Fernandez should not. I think Jordy is slowly being able to understand more what the future of this team looks like. And the way I see that coming through is through the minutes, through less Tyrese Martin, through less Terrence Mann, through more Yegor Gioman, through more Danny Wolf. That needs to continue, but Cam Thomas cannot interrupt the flow of what this team has. Smash the like button and hit subscribe if you're tuned in with us live. If you're on Twitter, follow the account. Hit like, retweet, all that helps. Get questions, comments, thoughts over in either chat. Much appreciated of the support right here on the channel to continue the growth of the Brooklyn Boys show. I'm Josh Williver, your host. As always, let's continue to get along here, and then we'll get into your questions, comments, thoughts a little bit later on. Not sure if you guys saw. Nets added this guy to the roster, Chaney Johnson, 6'7", 220 forward, who went to Auburn, formerly with the Cleveland Charge. That's today's big news update. Don't know much about him. I highly doubt he has a role on this team. EJ Liddell and Tyson Etienne are the other two-way guys, excuse me. And I can't remember the last time they hit the floor. So, Chaney Johnson should be a G League specialist, but hey, Brooklyn had one more roster to fill out. Can't complain that they're doing that now. I know earlier in the season they said that, they didn't want to add that last two-way because they were worried it was going to hinder the development of the guys already on the roster, which I respect and I acknowledged. I wonder what changed, though. Was it that Chaney Johnson is all of a sudden this guy that they couldn't miss on? Was it all of a sudden that for some reason the way they view the roster has changed in the front office? Is it for some reason, for whatever reason, have anything to do with Cam Thomas? I don't know, and I doubt. I can't really find the link there. I guess the furthest I can stretch it is that you hope to give Cam Thomas no minutes and you want some depth on this team, but Johnson's a forward, so that wouldn't make much sense. I kind of just wondered, or I am wondering, somebody fill me in the comments what you guys think. Like, what was their change in mindset to go from, yeah, I mean, we're content with the roster now, no need to add anybody, use up that final two-way, to now realizing they want to utilize it. Don't know. But that's the only news of the day outside of Cam Thomas. So just wanted to let you know if you did not see that yet. Went up about 30 minutes ago officially. So that, and the Cam Thomas is back from IR. It's been a pretty big news day for the Nets. Recently, they haven't had much to talk about. And actually, there is one more piece. Ben Surratt got optioned right back down to Long Island. So drops 40, comes up. Doesn't really see any light of day. Doesn't play a prominent role in his right back down to Long Island to the G League, but I recognize that. Like, one good G League performance should not mean at this stage that any of these rookies, any of these young guys are just getting plucked right up from the G League and are going to stay there because they had one good performance against non-NBA level competition. So that's the way I see it. No need to rush it with Surratt. Perfectly fine with putting him back down, and I'm not mad that he didn't get the minutes that some would have expected coming off that big-time G League performance. Couple trade partners with Cam Thomas that I feel like we have to talk about. Let's talk about an ideal scenario about what happens with him. I think that the best case scenario, and I tweeted this out earlier today, I had some people agreeing, some people disagreeing with me on Twitter about this. The best case scenario in my eyes for how this all happens, how the Nets are able to deal with this Cam Thomas situation, what coming back to Brooklyn means for him. The only way I see it going well is if he plays his butt off, he goes off, he is insane the first couple weeks back, hopefully instantly, immediately into his return, and he gets flipped to a desperate team right then and there. I'm serious when I say the first offer you get for Cam Thomas, you should probably take. Like, the first team that picks up the phone and is like thinking about Cam Thomas, push it, get him out of here, get rid of him while he still has something. Because he's either going to get injured again. It's happened twice in the last 2 years. he is going to just not be good. Like, I'm hoping this first week, the Nets play some tough opponents coming up. I'm hoping this first week, literally, he gets some good bench minutes and they get a call and he's gone. I do not want this guy associated with my team. They have until February, I believe, 9th to trade him, maybe 7th. First week of February is the trade deadline. Please say bye-bye before then. You have to. And initially, coming into the year, I was worried that since trade talks only started on December 15th, and you were going to have to deal with him for 2 months before that you were going to have trouble. But the fact that he got injured and he's been put aside for this long, and you only have to come around and deal with him on Saturday, December 27th, feels a little mysterious in and of itself. Because that was definitely a worry for me. I know for other Nets fans. Because we know what Cam Thomas can do when he's fully healthy. And I hope that the teams looking for trade partners can recognize that. He's just not a guy that at all fits Brooklyn's long-term vision. He's not a guy at all that, with the way the contractual situation played out in the offseason, is going to want to stay around here longer. And even if he did, even if he was desperate because nobody else wanted him, I think Brooklyn has to say no. You've already got your number 2, number 3 option in Michael Porter Jr., who can score the ball for you. You don't need another guy like that. You need a high-quality pick in the draft. So he doesn't fit the long-term ideal situation. Go ahead, get rid of him. There should be some desperate teams out there on the market. The Clippers, definitely monitor the Clippers. It's all gone south for them, and Oklahoma City has their current top 5 pick. They need whatever help they can get. They need to scramble and try their best to figure something out. It is an unmitigated disaster right now for the Clippers. They can't win a game. Or another team to keep an eye on is the Golden State Warriors. Now, the reason the Warriors are not pushing that narrative too heavily is because I just don't think Steph would cut it with Cam Thomas. Like, I don't think Steph wants a locker room diva matching up, trying to take 3-ball opportunities away from him and trying to act like he's top dog. Don't think that's what Steph's in the market for in terms of a backcourt buddy, but Golden State, I could see a scenario where they get desperate. Like, Draymond could want out. They don't really have that star-studded foundation that they once did in their peak that led them to all those championships. They're kind of in a mix where you have Steph Curry approaching the end of his career, so you can't just flat out say, we're done. Like, as long as they have Steph on their team, they're not going away. But they also just don't have the foundation to be a finals contender right now. So I think the Warriors could get desperate, but Cam Thomas I don't think they want that in their culture. Like you saw with Jordan Poole, they didn't want that in their culture. Got rid of a great player, even though he was taking them on runs. And I love Jordan Poole in Golden State. I did. But he was a locker room cancer. So you think they're going to trade for a locker room cancer to backcourt with Steph Curry? I don't think so. Clippers, though, I think literally anything is on the table for LA. They could be asking for anything, for anyone. They could be giving away even more future capita to just try and get something going with Harden, with Kawhi. But, man, Norman Powell leaving was the downfall of that team. Smash the like button and hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Get questions, comments, thoughts in the building, in the chat. Got a couple to react to coming up from Jonathan. And then we will continue to take callers. Last point here from me, or rather not callers, chatters. Last point for me is that the silver lining of bringing back Cam Thomas onto the floor is that you have a very tough strength of schedule remaining for the Nets. And they recognize that. Tankathon, which is my go-to for NBA stuff, has them at 11th. So how much does this impact the tank? How much does bringing back Cam Thomas into a prominent role affect the tank? Hopefully not a lot. Hopefully this team dives head first into the tank. And you can even make an argument that Cam Thomas makes this team worse and therefore you keep him around in the second half. And I would agree, except we both know that's going to mean taking away minutes from Yegor, from Drake Powell when he's back healthy, from Traore, from MPJ, and taking away shots from those guys as well, which just cannot happen. You can certainly make the argument he makes this team worse, but taking away minutes from those guys just cannot happen. And long term, I mean, let's not even get into the play-in discussion. Like, I was listening to Locked On Nets with Eric Slater, beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com, and he was having a mailbag day, so everyone was submitting questions and comments. And he reacted to so many that were talking about, why can't this team make a play-in push? And I think he said it best. This team hasn't had a homegrown superstar in the franchise's history. Never. You cannot afford for a couple extra wins in 2026. Screw up your draft lottery positions and then be mad next offseason when you don't have your own pick and you're losing because you didn't get a good enough pick because you wanted to win this year. Long term, they cannot afford a play-in. And don't even try and tell me, well, the last two teams have had terrible odds and they've won it all. I don't care. Let's play the numbers game. The odds of that happening again are astronomically low. And I don't need to be a rocket scientist at NASA to tell you that much, all right? So hit like and hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Get questions, comments, thoughts into the building. Let's start with Jonathan up top. Hold on, I got to make that smaller. That is blocking my whole face. How about that? Jonathan comes in and says, this Cam Thomas Brooklyn front office fractured relationship should be already over. And even if Cam accepts a 6-man role that cuts into some of the rookie development, I agree. Like, if it's going to be a bench role for him, it would have to be a minimalistic bench role. And so I don't think that's going to make him happy. He still has the no trade clause in his back pocket. That's clearly important to him because remember, he sacrificed an extra $5 million this offseason to keep the no trade clause under his belt, which he might be biting his tongue about right now because I'm sure he just wants to get out of here and is not going to use that no trade clause anyways. But if he wants to, if the Nets don't give him a prominent role, he wants to keep them out of a couple extra second-round picks. Go ahead, Cam Thomas. Way to really be the big guy. I'm sure free agency, your payday next year will reflect that. I just feel like even if Cam Thomas accepts a bench role, this front office never really had Cam in their long-term plans. So if this gets his value up to 2 seconds, that's something. You have 2 seconds. Again, that's what you really need? You have 19 second-round picks in the near future. Connor said it. The only viable option for these second-round picks is to literally package up 5 or 6 of them and trade them for a very late first-round pick. I'm done talking about second-round picks as this valuable thing. You want more second-round picks for Haywood Highsmith too? Go ahead and get them, but figure out something to do with them while you're at it. 2 second-round picks for Cam Thomas. I'm not going to be blown away by the 2 seconds. That's not what entices me, but at this point, just the fact of getting Cam Thomas off this roster might be worth it. And I think that's so crazy for me to say. Like, if you told me that 2 years ago, I would have called you insane. I would have called you crazy that you were asking for second-round picks to get this guy off the roster. Do whatever you can. Don't hinder the development of 5 first-round picks. But while we're at it, that sounds crazy as well. Jonathan says there's been news Denver's looking at a small expiring contract to address their injuries. Haywood Highsmith has been mentioned. Does Zeke Nanji in a 2023 second for Haywood work? What do you mean a 2023 second round pick? That's not a thing. There would have to be some drafted player, so not quite sure what you're getting at there. I mean, if they're looking for someone to shore up injury problems, I'm not sure Haywood Highsmith is the guy to turn to, someone who hasn't played a single second on an NBA court this year, recovering from surgery. And do I want another second for the guy? Probably not. I'd like to just see, honestly, what Haywood Highsmith can do for this team. At this point, Haywood Highsmith, not someone I'm desperate to get off the court. But then again, guy that's biting up a roster spot that hasn't played in a game this season. And we're talking about already flipping the calendar, still no timeline on his availability to return to the court. And as you sit here, 28 games into the year, and Haywood Highsmith hasn't played a single second, I think it's hard for me to genuinely vouch for the guy about keeping him around long term and needing him here. One more here after beating OKC. Oh my goodness. Day after Christmas, am I right? 3 times, some people see the Spurs as an MPJ option. Would Keldon, I don't even want to read this. Let's humor us for the people watching. Keldon Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, Jeremy Sohan, the Hawks 2026 pick, and a future first-round pick be good for MPJ. Say it with me, everybody. 3, 2, 1. No. I mean, I don't want 3 aging people, role players, for this guy that I am seriously looking at as my long-term number 2. I don't want to do that. I have no interest. Michael Porter Jr. is everything I could have asked for out of that trade. I don't understand why the reason to be dreaming up all these options for the Spurs, unless you're getting Dylan Harper back, and another, if you can give me Dylan Harper in that package, I would begin to consider it, but we both know San Antonio's not doing that, so I don't need to bring it up. If you get a Dylan Harper package, pick up the phone. If you get a Dylan Harper package, pick up the phone, Sean Marks. Other than that, I'm not sure you do. Kelly Olynyk, Jeremy Sohan. These guys are fine. They don't really move the ball for me on anything. Keldon Johnson. But no, I'm not giving you the literal last lottery pick. That's the pick we're talking about coming in return here as that 2026 Hawk swap. That's going to end up not being a lottery pick when it's all said. That could very easily not be a lottery pick when it's all said and done. Atlanta's a game out of that being a back end of the first round pick. I have zero interest in making that trade. Again, put Dylan Harper in there. I'd pick up the phone. I would consider it. But why? If like three vets and a future first, the Spurs are going to build a dynasty. I don't want the 30th pick. I don't want the 15th and 30th pick for my long-term number 2 option. You tell me where that makes sense. Mapping it out in my head, it doesn't make sense. Get a legitimate star in return, I'd pick up the phone. For that, no. Jonathan, once more, the Nets finally filled their third 2-way spot with Chaney Johnson, who might have 0 NBA experience and is an undrafted rookie. Look, it's just as I'm just as curious as you are. Let me know if you want to do some research on him. Get back to me about who this guy is. All I have is he's 6'7", 220, went to Auburn, and I don't think he's going to play at all on this team. But let me know if that would be fair to assess that he is a G League only guy. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I've seen wilder things in the Nets. I've seen Tosan Uoma get serious playing time on this team last year, so I'm not sure how serious I can commit to writing a guy off before he has put on a Nets jersey, but let's just say if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be throwing my bread on Chaney Johnson to turn this Nets season around. 671 Confidential comes in and says, "How old are you, bro? What would you say is a fair return for Cam Thomas? I'm early high school. I'm a sophomore. A return for Cam Thomas would probably be, if I'm the Nets, I'm hoping for a player back. That would be the best case scenario. I don't think there's a team that's going to be willing to do so. I think as of right now, if you got a second, you would think about it. 2 seconds, you'd probably say, yeah, just get him off the roster. If he plays his value up a little bit, if he has a good couple of weeks and you're seriously hearing calls for him, I don't think there's a world in which you upgrade yourself to a first because it's an expiring contract. The fact that it's only a QO and it is $6 million really, really helps. So that team's probably not even taking on a cap hit at all. That really helps, but you're not upping it to a first. Maybe a second and a very, very back end player would be the best you can do. Maybe you figure out a way for it to factor in with a salary dump and pick up a pick. But to be honest, I think the more important part is figuring out Cam Thomas's future than the actual return for it. That's what I got for you, Mr. Confidential. Ryan's Big Blue Podcast is in the house. Loving the new logo down there, man. That looks cool. He's a Giants creator. Hit him up if you haven't done so yet. Up and coming Giants supporter, man. All of New York football's a mess right now. Let's figure it out, fellas over there. Figure it out, Ryan. But for me, that is all I have for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you and yours a very, very happy holiday season. We will get you one more episode at least in before the new year. Probably nothing, if I had to guess, tomorrow night, except maybe a immediate reaction after the T-Wolves game. Just a couple notes there. I mean, this is a Minnesota team that should have beaten the Denver Nuggets in overtime on Christmas Day yesterday. They were up 9-0, or they went on a 9-0 run rather to start overtime. Couldn't hang on because Rudy Gobert, instead of resetting it and taking time off the clock, decided to go for a jackhammer putback that evidently didn't work. But Anthony Edwards, I'm sure, is going to go off on the Nets. Rudy Gobert should have his way. Naz Reid in the paint. Nets should not be able to compete. And I am marking this one down as a big-time loss, especially after the Nets win 2 games that I didn't expect them to do. I didn't expect the Nets to win, rather, against Toronto or most recently against Philadelphia. So Nets played Timberwolves, and then they finish out 2025 home against the Warriors. Steph Curry comes to town in what could possibly be his last game ever at the Barclays Center. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you. Happy holidays and a happy new year. I'm Josh Williver for the Brooklyn Boys Show, signing off, saying so long from Brooklyn. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe. Happy holidays. And as always, let's go Nets. See you on the next one, folks. Peace out.